We interact with people all day, every single day, at work, at home, scrolling online, and we usually think of these interactions as completely spontaneous, right? Like we're just winging it. But if you look closely at the actual science behind human behavior, there is this fascinating, completely hidden layer of influence operating just beneath the surface.
So I want you to take a second and really reflect on your own life. Think about your last big negotiation at work, or hey, even just a recent disagreement with your partner. Who was really controlling that conversation? Were you the one pulling the strings, or was someone else? Or, and this is wild to think about, were both of you just being driven by ancient subconscious defaults that neither of you even realized were turned on?
In this explainer, we're going to unpack exactly how this works. We'll start with the chameleon effect, move into nonverbal power moves, then look at the strategy of silence, and finally, wrap up with dark psychology and how to defend yourself.
All right, let's dive right into Section 1, the chameleon effect, and our natural human connections.
So consider the chameleon effect, which you might also know as mirroring. Basically, this is the behavior where one person subconsciously imitates the gestures, speech patterns, or even the attitude of another person. And the absolutely crucial word here is subconsciously. Unlike when you're consciously trying to copy someone, mirroring happens without us even realizing it's going on. You smile, they smile. You lean in, they lean in. It goes almost completely unnoticed, but let me tell you, it is absolutely critical for building rapport.
Now, you might be wondering, where does this actually come from? Well, this invisible string starts incredibly early. Back in infancy, babies naturally mimic their parents to help establish a sense of empathy and literally figure out their own self-concept. When a parent mirrors a baby's emotions, it validates them. But it actually goes back way further than that. In prehistoric times, mirroring was literally a life-or-death survival mechanism. Picture this. You're hanging out with your tribe, and suddenly someone freezes and constricts their posture because they spot a predator. Automatically mirroring that exact posture without needing an explanation is what keeps you alive. Today, it acts like the glue for social bonding and cohesion. It literally just makes our interactions feel smoother and way more natural.
Okay, moving on to Section 2, nonverbal power moves, because as it turns out, we definitely do not always just copy each other.
Researchers at Stanford University actually looked into this, and they studied a really fascinating distinction when it comes to power dynamics. Think about it. When someone displays dominance, by expanding their posture and really taking up space, or when they show submission by constricting their body, how do people observing them actually react? Do they default to mimicry and just copy that exact same posture, or do they lean into complementarity and adopt the complete opposite posture?
Well, the results from these Stanford experiments are incredibly revealing. It turns out when participants interacted with someone who intentionally took on a dominant, expansive posture, they naturally constricted themselves in response. And those who were exposed to a constricted posture, they actually expand it. So we don't mimic power moves, we complement them. Dominance naturally invites submissiveness, and submissiveness naturally invites dominance. It's like a subconscious dance.
But here's the part that is even more counterintuitive, and it's all about how this makes us feel. You'd probably think that because we love mirroring so much, being around someone who is also dominant when we're feeling dominant would feel amazing, right? Actually, scratch that. The data shows the exact opposite. Participants preferred and felt far more comfortable with partners who did the opposite of their power poses. Complementarity actually resulted in way more liking and comfort than mimicry. If someone is being dominant, it's honestly just more comfortable for the whole interaction if you are submissive, and vice versa. It essentially helps establish a clear hierarchy without creating unnecessary conflict.
Which brings us to Section 3, the strategy of silence and the immense power of just pausing.
3 seconds. That is the magic number here. Research out of MIT Sloan highlights that a deliberate 3-second pause in a negotiation can literally shift the human brain. It yanks us out of this reactive, defensive, fixed pie mentality and just drops us into a highly deliberative, analytical state. Whether they happen naturally or they're completely intentional, awkward silences consistently precede massive breakthroughs in negotiations. It's a real game changer.
So how do you actually use this in real life? Well, here is the playbook. Step 1, you ask a high-impact question. Step 2, pause, just stop talking and let that silence hang there in the air. Step 3, observe. Remember how we said humans are deeply wired to connect? Because of that, silence makes most people incredibly uncomfortable. They'll often rush to fill a void, and when they do, they frequently reveal hidden needs, offer up concessions, or just give you valuable information they never actually intended to share.
Think about that anxiety-driven habit we all have of oversharing. You might say something like, if you can't include shipping, I'll burn my budget. See what happened there? You're giving away your vulnerability right off the bat. Now compare that to the quiet power of using silence. You just say, I need you to include transportation costs. And then you just wait. You let the silence do the heavy lifting for you. You don't justify your ask. It creates a completely different, way more powerful dynamic.
All right, finally, let's get into Section 4, Dark Psychology and Defense. What actually happens when these perfectly natural levers are intentionally hijacked by bad actors?
Welcome to the realm of dark psychology. Now, let's be clear, dark psychology isn't magic, and it's definitely not some locked box of mystical secrets. It's actually just human nature completely stripped of its ethical and moral guardrails. It is the study of how ordinary, everyday psychological mechanisms, things like persuasion, influence, and emotional connection, are actively turned into weapons for coercion, deceit, and control.
You've likely heard a few of these terms floating around, and it's absolutely vital to recognize the labels so you can actually spot the behaviors in the wild. We're talking about gaslighting, which is literally rewriting someone's reality until they start to doubt their own sanity. Love bombing, overwhelming someone with affection to aggressively drop their defenses and build this rapid, false rapport. Machiavellianism, using cunning, calculated deceit. Cult tactics, leaning heavily on isolation and emotional dependency. And of course, digital manipulation, where algorithms feed you outrage and fear because they know exactly how to keep your brain hooked.
So, the absolutely crucial question is, why do these tactics actually work so well? It's because they're exploiting your human defaults. They prey on our deep evolutionary need for connection, our innate fear of rejection, and our natural tendency to trust others. Think about it. A manipulator who uses love bombing is really just hijacking the exact same mirroring and empathy circuits that a parent uses to bond with a newborn infant. They are pulling the exact same biological levers we talked about earlier, just with malicious intent.
But listen, you are definitely not defenseless here. Awareness is your ultimate shield. First off, know the signs. If every interaction with someone leaves you doubting yourself, hey, that's a tactic, not a personality quirk. Second, set boundaries early on. Manipulators completely rely on gradual escalation, so you've got to draw hard lines right from day one. Third, trust but verify. Remember, charm is not proof of character. And finally, stay connected. Isolation is a manipulator's absolute favorite tool, so keep your outside relationships strong so you always have an objective reality check waiting for you.
I really want to wrap up this explainer with a powerful thought straight from our sources. The best defense isn't just spotting the game, it's refusing to play. Understanding these invisible levers gives you an incredible advantage in life. It allows you to build better connections, negotiate with immense power, and of course, protect yourself from those who might seek to manipulate you. So, the next time you walk into a room, pay close attention to the postures, listen to the silences, and ask yourself, who is really pulling the strings?